For months now, we have been trying to get the mainstream media to cover Donald Trump's clear cognitive decline because as he becomes more and more erratic and, quite frankly, insane, it shows that he is more unfit for office than ever. And of course, he has always been unfit for the presidency, but this version of Donald Trump is more dangerous than ever. And the mainstream media, finally, they're doing their jobs and starting to pick up on that and starting to cover it. But Donald Trump's erratic behavior hasn't just gotten the attention of journalists finally, it is getting the attention of Republicans and Republican voters, because it's staring them right in the face. Anyone who watches or listens to a Donald Trump rally for more than a minute can tell that there is something clearly wrong with him, not just because of his rambling responses to questions he doesn't answer, his stories about Hannibal Lecter or Arnold Palmer, is all I'm going to say about that, but because of the things he can't say, not just the things he does say, but the things he is unable to say, because Donald Trump is failing to be able to speak more and more often. And we saw that tonight at a rally Donald Trump had with Christian voters, which just seems weird. Christian voters, Donald Trump. I know that's his demo, but considering who he is, really, guys? But Donald Trump was unable to speak through most of this rally, and we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. It really goes a long way. It means the world to me. Now let's get into some of this crazy rally from Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris has vowed to abolish the filibuster, letting her pack the Supreme Court, and I even heard as many as 25 justices. The Supreme Court with Marxist radicals, with people that we don't want on the Supreme Court, to rewrite the Constitution and to overrule your values. I think one of the greatest things I've done is the Supreme Court, and also getting over 300 judges appointed throughout our land that have made a tremendous difference. Those 300 judges have made a tremendous difference. She'll flood our country with tens of millions more illegal aliens and make them all citizens, canceling out your voting power forever.
We always talk about the projection from Donald Trump, but are we serious with this one? It's Kamala Harris who's going to pack the court with a radical extremist. That was the defining moment of your presidency, was doing that. That is the lasting damage. Actually, there's a lot of lasting damage from Donald Trump, and there's a lot of bad defining moments from his presidency, but certainly one of them was the impact of this super conservative Supreme Court that not only stripped a woman of her right to choose in this country, but also has decided that Donald Trump, if he wants to, can be a dictator. That's your court. Those are your appointees. That is the packing that you and Mitch McConnell did. Just complete projection from Donald Trump as he attempts to fearmonger. And speaking of fearmongering, he did some more of that in this clip right here.
Kamala will mandate that every public school in America must promote the idea that children can change their genders, allow men into girls' locker room, and also allow men to play in women's sports. Can you imagine that? Men and women's sports.
This attack on and fear-mongering of transgender students, for some reason, seems to be the focal point of the closing message for Trump's campaign. It seems like this is their go-to ad, trying to attack these students, and it's just so disgraceful to see. It just shows the type of bully that Donald Trump is, that he would go after children. It's incredibly sad, it's incredibly upsetting, and it just goes to show the type of person he is and always be, and the reason his dangerous rhetoric cannot once again be behind the seal of the presidency, because he is just a bully. And it wasn't just transgender students that Donald Trump was attacking in this speech. For some reason, he decided to mock Jimmy Carter, as we can see right here.
You're a member of the worst administration in the history of our country. The happiest person around is Jimmy Carter, because Jimmy Carter is considered a brilliant president by comparison to crooked Joe Biden. Jimmy Carter is brilliant. His administration will go down as a brilliant administration compared to crooked Joe. But we're going to say, Kamala, you've done a horrible job. You're a horrible vice president. There's no way you're going to be our president. Kamala, you're fired. Get out, 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 out.
So clearly Trump there trying to insinuate that Jimmy Carter was a bad president and that he's happy that Kamala Harris and President Biden have done an even worse job. I don't know what type of case you're trying to make for either of those things to be true, Donald. I think you, though, have the best case as the worst president, but it wasn't the only insane thing Donald Trump said. Of course, he is always doing that, and we can see more of it right here.
And the FBI would send spies into Catholic churches. I don't know how many Catholics are here, but if you're Catholic, there is no way you can be voting for these people. These people are a nightmare.
So are you trying to suggest that President Biden, our second Catholic president in history, was sending the FBI under his administration after Catholics? What are the dots that we're connecting? I know he is speaking at a Christian rally, and so he's trying to do anything to gin up his support, but it's just getting weird here. And as I said earlier, it's not only the things that Donald Trump says that are so strange, the things he is unable to say also contribute to that. And we can see it right here.
Such hell, and it's as big a water, that's as big a water storm, they say, as we've ever seen in this country. And they just set a record.
You would think after all of the lies that Donald Trump has told about the response by Vice President Kamala Harris and President Biden to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, he would remember the word hurricane and not call it a big water or a big water storm. But you see him searching and his brain just doesn't work for that word and he can't find it. And we saw the same thing yesterday when Donald Trump was talking about energy and described the phrase of liquid gold, another thing he could not remember how to say, as liquid oil. We have so much, he said, liquid oil. I don't know what other form it takes, Donald, but clearly the brain isn't working. A lot of forgetfulness. If this was President Biden, the mainstream media would be freaking out. They need to be doing a better job of covering this. But of course, we are going to continue to. And we also have to point out the fact that Donald Trump, speaking to a group of Christians, yeah, those values don't align. And a group that did a great job pointing that out was our friends at the Lincoln Project.
I'm proud to be promoting the God Bless the USA Bible. It's my favorite book. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody.
Donald Trump found guilty all 34 counts of falsifying business records.
Donald Trump's hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
She had an affair with Trump.
I am the chosen one.
The Trump Organization frauded the state of New York.
$354 million.
I'm very greedy. We must make America pray again. How stupid are the people of the country to believe this crap?
Everything that Donald Trump stands for is antithetical to what would be considered Christian values. I cannot think of someone who is less like what would be considered Christian values. And that ad perfectly summarizes it. Who Donald Trump is, who he has always been. And the same thing applies for the family values. The party of family values, the guy who was cheating on his third wife while she was pregnant. This is who Donald Trump is. That's who he's always been. And everyone knows it, including those closest to him who know it even more. And that's what Kamala Harris is calling out right here.
I would add to that an additional point, which is, and don't think it's a sick sense of humor and relegate it to simply being that. I've said many times, I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man, but the consequences of him ever being in the White House again are brutally serious. And take it from the people who know him best. His former chief of staff, when he was president, 2 former defense secretaries, his national security advisor, and of course his vice president, who have all in one way or another used the word that he is unfit to be president again and is dangerous. Listen to the report that what his former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a general, said about him, that he is fascist to the core. And these are people who were in his administration, who worked closely with him in the Oval Office and the Situation Room. And so I would caution us also to, because some people find it humorous what he says and think it's just silly, but understand how brutally serious it is. Well, the courts will take care of that. We'll take care of November. Yes. We'll take care of November. But It is brutally serious because, to the Congresswoman's point, anyone who has openly said, as he has, that he would terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again.
The people closest to Donald Trump know how dangerous he is. The people closest to Donald Trump know he wants to be a dictator. The people closest to Donald Trump know he wants to rule with an iron fist, and they're terrified of it. And they should be, and we should listen to them. In the same way that we should listen to Trump when he says things like this.
Think of it, 60 Minutes, CBS, and they ought to lose their license and they ought to take it off the air. It's the biggest.
Isn't this the party, talk about hypocrisy again, that loves free speech? And he wants to strip CBS of their license for what? Airing an interview with Kamala Harris when he wouldn't do the same? The man has lost it. He's angry. He's vengeful. He's out of control. He is unfit. And we have to continue to call that out every single day. And we're going to be doing so on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that like button, that subscribe button too. Now I sound like Donald Trump. I can't get my words right. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.